The decision to buy a house is always a very important one because nothing contributes more than home to our sense of personal well-being. It is an aspiration which often raises complex questions. In order to find the right answers, we need a partner who can help us to make our dreams of a home of our own come true. A partner we can trust and who will approach this very personal project with very personal equipment.
You have to invest in design. You have to combine these two issues, energy and design. You get a very good experience out of the market.
Living confidence. That is the philosophy of Suedhausbau. Professor Ottman is the managing director of Suedhausbau, a family firm with a history going back more than 75 years. As an honorary professor at Munich's Technical University, he studies the future challenges of energy-efficient housing.
As a professor of the university, we are keen on searching how people like to live in the next future. And we like to make these investigations too in Canada. We would like to be part of the network of Canada.
We are already facing the challenges of tomorrow in our current projects. Our estate of passive houses in Poing near Munich shows just what a huge potential for saving energy there is in a house. The large windows face south in order to make efficient use of the passive solar energy. Passive houses are especially cozy despite their very low energy consumption. We achieve this primarily through passive components like insulation and thermally insulated windows. The term passive house thus describes a technical standard. There are no architectural restrictions which need to be considered when building a passive house. Martin Delker is one of our architects and has in-depth knowledge of the passive house concept.
The passive house standard defines some ingredients that are necessary to get the comfort you need in a house. One of the ingredients is the airtightness of the outer walls you have, and also the windows.
But which technical characteristics are typically found in a passive house?
We see here a section model of the exterior wall of a passive house. It's a timber construction as we use it in this building here. And you see the different layers that take on different functions that are necessary to create a passive house wall. The outer part here is to keep the weather away. The inner part is the very thick thermal insulation that is necessary to keep heat losses through the wall at a minimum. And you see this board here on the inner side, which is necessary to provide the air tightness necessary so that no air leakages can go through the wall.
In addition to the walls, special windows are one of the basic requirements for good thermal insulation. What is the difference between a window in a passive house and a traditional window?
Passive house windows have two special features that are not seen at first sight. One of them is the thickness of the frame, which is very well insulated. And this is necessary because for passive house and all windows, it's the frame who takes 30 to 40% of the whole window area. The second feature is the glazing of the window, which is not as in normal houses, but it's triple glazed. You see it through the reflection of the three flames, and you can count the triple glazing here, which is necessary to keep the heat loss at a minimum.
This airtight, thermal bridge-free construction permits efficient airing and ventilation of the entire house via special ventilation, combined with efficient heat recovery. The warm, spent exhaust air warms up the cold, fresh air via a heat exchanger before it enters the house. A filter system also ensures that the air in the room remains hygienic, which is especially important for allergy sufferers.
Here are the tubes for the fresh air, for the extract air, for the exhaust air. And what this provides is not only fresh air to breathe, but it keeps outside everything that we don't want in our house. You see here the filter system, and this, for example, shows us how much of the dust and the insects are kept away from the fresh air we breathe in this house. Compared to this, you would see a new filter system which looks like that. So it shows how effective the fresh air and the incoming air is filtered through this system.
A small control center monitors the ventilation and heating throughout the house. All these technical measures result in a very high living quality. There are no sudden changes in temperature in the living area because all the surfaces in the house, including the windows, remain at a pleasant temperature. In addition to these soft factors, the passive house stands out above all for its high degree of energy efficiency. Project leader Daniela Floto knows that the extremely low energy consumption is an important factor for the residents.
Well, I think we bear responsibility for future generations, and private households and their heating demand cause a major portion of carbon dioxide emissions. A passive house uses no more than 1.5 liters of heating oil or 1.5 cubic meters of natural gas per year per square meter of living space. This is the equivalent to 15 kilowatt hours. And this means a saving of more than 90% in relation to the average consumption of a normal house.
How the low energy requirements of a passive house are covered depends on its inhabitants and the technical possibilities in the region.
This means the typical household activities of the occupants, such as cooking or taking a shower, but also the heat output from lamps, from electric devices, from appliances, and from human beings. Even with an outside temperature of minus 14 degrees Celsius, it would be sufficient to light 2 75-watt light bulbs to get a cozy temperature in a 20 square meter room. Or you could also invite a friend. So you save heating costs and become largely independent of fossil fuels.
The pioneering technology behind passive construction methods can be seen as a good financial investment because we can already achieve building standards which will be required in the future.
Well, here you see one of our latest passive house projects. All of the houses are sold and occupied in the meanwhile. So a normal passive house won't be the end for us. And as Suedhausbau, we are really interested in going on this topic, which is really important to us.
Long before people started to discuss the climate, Suedhausbau had begun putting the desire for ecology and economy, aesthetics and sustainability into practice in an efficient manner, whereby we always saw the comfort of the residents as being the top priority. In the future, living space with a high degree of energy will make an important contribution to the reduction of CO2 emissions and will thus improve the climate for future generations in the long term.
Well, our new project in Germany is a plus energy house. So the people living in that home, they are consuming less that the house will produce. So that may be a new project for Vancouver too. We would like to support Vancouver getting the greener city of the world with our new buildings in the next 5 to 10 years.